The following is a special presentation of Sportsball.
Do you smell it in the air? It's football time. Now with an extra week purchased as DLC expansion packs to be developed in the future. You need to be comfortable when you're zombified by Red Zone on Sundays. And you know what helps with that? Raycon, the sponsor of this video. With the everyday earbuds, I get everything I desire when it comes to relaxation and a premium sound. They've greatly improved the smooth and flexible feel of the gel tips for that perfect in-ear fit. You'll need it for the 8 hours of playtime and 32-hour battery life. The optimal length to hear the booming bass of pads hitting and the crowd roaring. It's the same quality you'll get in major brands. And it's all for roughly half the price of them. They even offer a built-in mic that can take calls at the press of a button when you're on the go. If you aren't satisfied with your purchase, Raycon offers a 45-day happiness guarantee. No hassles or loopholes to deal with. You can even save 15% off your order by going to buyraycon.com/utree. The everyday earbuds are a perfect companion for football, Sunday, life on the road, anything that involves durability and comfort. Like with Raycons, the first week of the season is always full of hope and optimism. Excluding about 5 teams. Let's kick off the festivities with a banger. This is the daily reminder that Antonio Brown is a Super Bowl champion. As I slowly die on the inside, this also reminds us that Tom Brady led another team to a Super Bowl in New England and pretends it's theirs. This game was as expected for teams starting the year with limited game reps. Sloppy. Tampa Bay could hold on to the goddamn ball, this would have been far more decisive. But they either wanted to keep it close for the ratings or allow the bookies to make bank by not covering the spread. For all the fears, Dak looks solid for coming off a major injury. Shoulder issues? What shoulder issues? His arm was fine enough for me. With the Buccaneers yearning to let their opponent in the game, the unthinkable happened late in the fourth quarter. The Cowboys had the lead. God help us all. Even then, Dallas, you unfortunately ran into a problem many teams facing Brady do. You gave him too much time. Phew, that was a heck of a game, wasn't it? This calls for an officially licensed NFL jacket. We got Roger Goodell's son to sponsor it. And it's all for the low price of $250. Hurry and make your purchase right away before we have to sell it for $50 in the fire sale. Please buy our merchandise. How the hell do we have a potential tank bowl in week 1? The master of ceremonies for this gala, none other than Deshaun Watson. Currently being chucked on the inactive list to rot while Houston wants 2020 value for any suitors acquiring him. This forces Tyrod Taylor to take over, and he was quite strong. The Texans look like a team that could make noise this season, which leads me to issue serious questions about Jacksonville. Why are you so fucking shit? Why is Trevor Lawrence being sizzled on an open fire by opposing defenses? Why are there more rumors leaking about how terrible Urban Meyer is at the NFL level? The Jags look like they didn't even belong in the same hemisphere as their opponent. It was gnarly, and I'm now placing bets on Meyer to resign due to health issues by week 14. This isn't Gainesville, Urban. College shit don't fly here. 2 teams that had terrible seasons last year. 2 teams that seem to have unrealistic expectations as to where they are. One team at least lived up to those lofty goals for one game. The other just looked absolutely terrible. Philadelphia smacked around Atlanta like they were fighting one of the Paul brothers in a rigged match. If only it were that rigged. Every issue we've had about the Falcons emerged in some way or form. And it's not looking good with how competitive the NFC South looks this year. I hope you like the basement because you're probably staying there. Philly, you can escape out the back. Your reward is getting to live for another week. And a nice extension for Jordan Mailata. The long-standing fears of the preseason were for naught. Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson will be starting in week 1. Can they find a way to clone Nelson at least 10 times? I have an inkling Indianapolis has some serious issues to work out. Seattle just stormed right into Lucas Oil Stadium and faced virtually no resistance whatsoever. This is the elite Colts defense? Getting beaten on deep passes on the regular? Gaping holes in the first and second levels? The Seahawks spanked the Colts on both sides of the ball performance-wise, morally, and tactically. If Russell Wilson keeps doing this, I'd say it'll be a good season for the 12s. Good building block, at least. Watching franchises come in with amazing expectations only to get hammered into the ground by a team they were expected to beat. Titans, it's your time to overreact to a bludgeoning by Arizona. The equation is simple. Tennessee can stop Chandler Jones from getting to the quarterback as well as a stick can stop a raging flood. 5 sacks on the day for Jones alone. We must assume that Derrick Henry is the stick as well, since he could do next to nothing against the Cardinals' defense. Kyler Murray looked legit again. For one day, Arizona played up to their potential. They were damn good, but that's never been the issue. It's been inconsistency. Only with time can that narrative be fixed. The only thing that's scarier than the prospect of the New York Jets ruining another top draft pick is witnessing whatever the fuck this CGI atrocity is. I feel like I've OD'd and this is the Reaper that's going to remove me from the bane of existence. That amalgamation can also be considered as the Jets' offensive line. Zach Wilson is going to die this season. He'll be eating all of his solids out of a straw by December for how often he was running for his life. Carolina didn't need to do much, but it was no contest. Sam Darnold gets his revenge against the team that ruined him. A hollow gesture, but he'll take what he can get. Anything to prove the doubters wrong. This is ugly. The 49ers are mopping the floor against Detroit. They're not even trying to refresh the water they use. They'll soak the Lions in all of that grimy sludge and stagnating muck for all of us to see as a warning. The first victim will be a man named Jeff Okudah, suffering third-degree burns not only on the football field, but with the excoriations of his position coach. To add to the shit Sunday, he left the game early with injury. This was a third overall pick, by the way. The first overall pick they acquired from LA didn't look much better, but it's the Lions, and the Niners have a 41-17 lead at the 2-minute warning. This shouldn't be much of an issue. So, is anyone gonna talk about how Detroit is coming back into this game? Can San Francisco stop lathering margarine all over their hands before plays? The Lions are pushing down the field to tie the game for fuck's sake! Oh, thank God they escaped with a win. Niners never ever do that again. If you do, I'll hunt you down. Capiche? The star-crossed franchises have insanely bad luck and shitty ownership. It's a lot like the sewage pipe bursting at FedEx Field. There's nothing but the smell of feces wafting around these teams. Not to say anything about how they are on the football field, both have significant promise this season, but the gods are assholes. They demand a token sacrifice to damn both of their long-term ambitions. Washington's in the lead, so they flip a coin. Call it in the air. They say tails. It was heads. Particularly Ryan Fitzpatrick's wonderful beard. He was knocked out of the game and might be out for a bit longer. Even for the decent performance of Taylor Heineke, the defense just couldn't hold Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense back for long. The name of the game in the modern NFL is scoring points. And if you can't amass more than 16 in 60 minutes, there's a good chance you're losing. Can't really shit on either team here. It was a good match, but somebody has to lose most times. The gods chose you today, Reskins. Buffalo, I need you to report to the principal's office after class. Can you please explain to the rest of us what the fuck that was supposed to be? The Bills were favorites to win. They had dominated nearly every trackable metric. Buffalo had clamped down on a geriatric offense and suspect line in the first half. But, boys, you're supposed to celebrate with the bubbly after the game, not at halftime. The Steelers' pass rush was relentless, so apparently the coaching staff needs to gut everything and try to overthink their opponent. And what better example of it than on this 4th and 1? They call an RPO where they flip the ball to a runner 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Of course nobody's gonna get fooled on that. We're not an idiocracy yet. Pittsburgh had no right to be in this game, yet they just had to stand there while the Bills outcoached themselves. They flat out imploded, and it's a game they might regret down the line. Steelers, you stole this one. Now take this detention slip and get the fuck out of my face. You may have noticed one of the stars of this game for Pittsburgh was TJ Watt. Pretty easy to see. He's one of the best edge rushers in football right now, but he needed to be paid. But the Steelers are incredibly stubborn with their extensions, and it forced negotiations to drag on for days. We feared the Steeler way would fuck this up, but they found it in their cold heart to cave to the edge rusher. TJ Watt is now the highest paid defender in football for the next 10 minutes. What I find more stunning isn't the contract, but that the Steelers paid guaranteed money. $80 million guaranteed? Am I following the same organization? They moved up their calendars to 2021? I'm surprised they did it. Maybe the same thing will happen with their philosophies in due time. Joe Burrow has returned. I only hope that the Bengals don't leave him to die like they did last year. The fortunate thing is that the Vikings seem to be doing more than enough of that this week. Horrifically undisciplined early on. The secondary being gashed regularly. Minnesota falling behind to a team they should be beating if they have any hopes of making it to January football. I can't tell if we're underestimating the Bengals or if Minnesota is truly this bad in a lot of aspects. Kinda feels like that it's a bit of both. Imagine if Burrow had a real coach, a real play caller unlocking his abilities. He has so much more to give, yet it's as if he's hampered by a restrictor plate. It's also why Minnesota was able to come back into this game, but the thing that might stop them? A field goal. They need a 53-yarder to tie the game for OT, and their kicker hasn't had a regular gig in years. The Vikings can make clutch field goals? I feel like we've just had a breakthrough, but then you realize this is Minnesota and they ruin everything they touch. Would you be shocked to find out they lost this game? I can hear the calls from Minneapolis burning the phone line.
But he didn't fumble the football! His knee was down! The Vikings should have won this game!
You want my counter-argument? The Vikings shouldn't have even been in this position in the first place. Well done, you have a scapegoat to deflect from the real issues plaguing the team. Perhaps next time you can play less like shit instead of giving Cincinnati hope. The Bengals having hope. That's a sentence that hasn't been uttered about them in over half a decade. Teddy Bridges' era in Denver is off to a solid, if unspectacular start. It's fitting of his playstyle. Drives the ball down the field methodically, he limits his mistakes, he allows his teammates to thrive and not be exposed to defenders. It's all the Broncos needed against the Giants. You can also see that the G-men have learned nothing over the offseason and struggled to do anything against their opponent. The only consistent element about New York is Daniel Jones fumbling the damn ball. If I'm Joe Judge, I take a few days to decompress all the rage he's built up. All of those eruptions on how shit his players are can't be good for his blood pressure. New Orleans has been through quite a bit over the past month. Significant injuries sapping their team's strength, drama and speculation, and a new quarterback with questions about his long-term impact. There was also that hurricane thing that forced them away from their home city for the foreseeable future. That could hurt. Coming to you live from Jacksonville, we present an absolute ass-kicking by the Saints? It appears I'm not misreading the script. New Orleans took all of the pent-up rage and aggression over the past few months and shanked the pompous rich kid in a back alley. I do not exaggerate, it was complete domination against the Packers. A reward for such a victory is a handsome extension for Marshawn Lattimore, who's out week to week with a thumb injury. One thing, did Green Bay prepare for this game? They looked terrible! Aaron Rodgers may have chosen wrong in the offseason, especially when he's pulled for Jordan Love in garbage time. The team may have overrated itself, but I mean, Aaron, the Jeopardy gig is still technically available. The Emperor against one of his many apprentices. If there are any coaches that know of Belichick's tricks, it's those from his coaching tree. They usually tend to win against him, even if it's in the homely confines of Gillette Stadium. Both teams know what they need to do with young quarterbacks. Force mistakes and keep the offensive flow methodical and precise. New England wasn't truly at fault. Mac Jones had a very strong debut, and Tua was looking vulnerable, but the Achilles heel of the Patriot? The fumble. It cost them significantly, despite statistical advantages. Belichick was struck down by the lightning of his own disciple yet again. Miami escapes the clutches of the Death Star and forces its destruction. The Patriots will rebuild, however. That has been guaranteed. Now this is the matchup I've wanted to see. The AFC's reigning juggernaut against the up-and-coming contender. The Browns are hungry, and this game is a true test of their staying power. They know they have the offensive might to keep up with the hypothetical Joneses. Pure talent at nearly every position, and holding serve against the Chiefs is testament to their rise in power. All the defense has to do is contain the Kansas City offense, and they have a win to steal at Arrowhead. You can take a guess and say that outcome did not happen. The Chiefs' offense is incredibly difficult to stop. You may have them contained, but you can't make mistakes that give them prime field position. I'm looking at you, Jamie Gillen. Then Mahomes pulls some bullshit, followed by Tyreek Hill pulling even more bullshit. It's the stuff out of Houdini. Watch them pull the lead out of their hat and have the Browns scrambling to recover. You have one shot to make it right. Don't pout, Baker. You lost, but there will be plenty of games to avenge your fuck-ups. Get up and keep fighting. SoFi Stadium gets its debut. It's a majestic place, one where Matthew Stafford can have his fantastic revival. Look at him sling the ball with ease. One look at that man and he exudes body language that's elated to be free from Detroit. Think of this game like the Harlem Globetrotters against the Washington General. The Rams put on a good show, the fans leave happy, they get a win, and LA looks like a strong contender for the NFC West title. But what about Chicago? They were only good at jobbing to the star of the show. Matt Nagy is serious about using Justin Fields as a glorified gadget player, isn't he? There are a few recent examples of this. Lamar Jackson tied to Joe Flacco and Jalen Hurts tied to Carson Wentz. You know what these pairings had in common? They didn't fucking work. If you're serious about developing Fields, let him sit and learn the playbook. This token chintzy shit doesn't work unless you have a good game plan. Do any of you believe that the Bears have that now? Fuck no. Let me put it to you this way. If you were to submit this game as a movie script, every single production company would shove it back in your face for how unrealistic it was. Prepare yourselves, everyone. For our first trip into the new black hole, we're entering one. A world where the insane and absurd are the normal standard. A time when every single expectation is thrown out the window. What we will be entering is what we call the Shyamalan zone, where twists and turns are chucked at you for the sake of the twist. Baltimore may be controlling possession. They may be cruising to a victory, but prepare for the swerve.
Jackson trying to get out of there, and the ball comes out.
Momentum swing. The Raiders have life. All things may seem easy by the end of the game. Ravens kicked a field goal to go up by 3 with less than a minute left, but the twist! Baltimore forgot how to play defense. 2 passes sets up a field goal by Vegas to take us to overtime. The script now says for Baltimore to keep sucking at defense and allow a touchdown, but we need to change the script! The Raiders are now stuffed at the 1. The events after this, all I can describe it as this game taking all of the drugs. Every single narcotic you can think of taken at the same time. Can you please explain what the fuck this is?
Throwing. Off the fingertips and intercepted.
This overtime has become the ending for Metal Gear Solid 2. The entire football watching audience is now tripping balls. I need scissors. 61. Baltimore may be getting handed a victory from the jaws of defeat, but how about another twist?
3rd and 7. Jackson trying to get out, can't do it. He's taken down and it's out.
Who knew the Ravens can't block pass rushers? And this is when John Gruden becomes Andy Warhol and plays roulette with his special teams unit, causing a delay of game. And at this point, Baltimore had enough and just rage quit the server.
Gonna throw. Drake picked up the pressure. All alone is Zay Jones, and he will prance into the end zone.
I feel like I need my stomach pumped from the sheer amount of drugs I saw ingested by the football gods. The Raiders christen their new digs with a win as everyone gets drunk and parties for 3 days straight. Ravens, I'd recommend getting your liquor handy. It might be one of those years.
You blew it. Fish.
Football is a brutal game. May the bell toll for the fallen.
Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost.
Thus concludes another week of this sermon on the field. Amen.